I guarantee you, everything that we're going to be saying today, this Shabbat, the week, next week, the following week, and the following week, is going to all be centered around Moreh Eliyahu's class that he did for the last 4 weeks. So we're talking about a particular priesthood at this time. John the Baptist was of a particular order. Zadok. That line is very, very important. And we have to also remember too now is that John was a Kohen. He was a priest. His father was Zechariah. Zechariah was of the 8th course of Abijah. When you go back from the beginning, especially when you go to the book of Matthew, that's explaining a particular bloodline. We have to keep the bloodline pure. From Genesis to Revelation, this is about bloodline, it's about inheritance. If we can't fully absorb that, we're going to miss the point. All right? So again, after Yahuah was a priest of the 8th course of Abijah, as his father Zechariah was. Those guys that was up there in Jerusalem, there was a bunch of phonies. You know, listen, you know what? Moreh, that's my man. All right, so listen, you know what? For example, you're an Ephraimite or whatever. You know what? That's my man. Forget the priesthood lineage. Bring him on in. So I can't, you know what? He's a tribe of Manasseh, whatever. Bring him in. So that bloodline wasn't being preserved, and you know, Shalak Yahuah said, listen, you know what, man, forget about Zacchaeus. Listen, man, you know what, I got $1,000 here, man. Listen, you know what, I'm going to buy my way in this thing. But this was going on in Jerusalem, so again, we see the importance of John the Baptist, or Yahuah the Immerser, is that he was the only one qualified to anoint or do the inauguration of the Lamb. The only one. Those hypocrites up there were a bunch of phonies. And this is the reason why Moreh and I, we're going to talk about it later. There's a difference now between temple scrolls, okay, and those scrolls that those guys are using. All right? A big difference. Meaning this, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's not what I'm doing. But the way that I read the New Testament now is totally different. Totally different. Especially now when I can compare now the writings of the Dead Sea Scrolls, some of the Targums, and what's actually going on now with some of the writings that we have, is just not linking up. And what I'm going to do, all right, I'm going to go with the Qumran community writings somewhat more, and the reason why is because I have not found any writings where the Mashiyach now is denouncing the Qumran community. Not agreeing with everything that they did, because it's a community. And community have the rights now to set up their rules. They have that right. And they were doing the law, and they were not in Jerusalem. They left Jerusalem and did the laws. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, all right? But moving right along, my fourth point, what is the connection? The crossing at the Jordan River led by Hoshea, whose name was changed to Joshua. Remember, Joshua's name at first was Hoshea. Moses changed his name to Yahusha. Now, watch this. Watch the connection. Moses was a Levite. He gave the instructions on how to conduct ourselves. Because of the hardness of the hearts of the people, and I'm not saying those people, I'm going to bring this up to terms today. Today's people. Because our people still have a hardness of heart. Moses the instructions or who Moses was not able to bring us into the promised land. Look at the picture here. Moses changes Hosea's name to Joshua or Yahusha, so it's going to actually now take Yahusha to actually bring the nation of Israel into the land. Not the law. Not the law. Joshua is a prophetic shadow picture of Yahusha HaMashiach. The works of the law is not going to bring you into the land. It's obedience. This is the reason why that first generation that came out, they were so wicked when the Father was like, no way. No way. What we're going to do now is make a new covenant with these people here, because remember now, after that generation had died, the generation now that's going into the land of Canaan, they needed to be circumcised. Circumcision is a covenant agreement. Covenants are so important, extremely important. Again, Maury brought it out last week. For the last 4 weeks, it's all interconnected. A covenant is a sign that the Father has between himself and you. So the question is, what was the first covenant that the Father made with the nation of Yashra'al?
10 Commandments.
The 10 Commandments. Okay, the 10 Commandments. I'm going to give you a clue. The salvation plan for the nation of Yashra'al existed from the very beginning. All right? So we have Israel at its infant stage in the book of Genesis, let's say with Adam. Because again, we can go through like the different layers of understanding Adam and his Isha, where it's actually now referring to the nation of Israel. But we're going to keep it simple. What was the first covenant that the Father made with Israel in her infant stage? The first covenant.
Will it be the one with Adam?
Oh, keep the Shabbat. Wow.
Keep my Shabbats.
Yeah.
That is so important, because this is the sign. I'm going to warn everybody, if you can't keep this sign right here, what now differentiates you now from other people?
Nothing.
You're just like everybody else. And go to the book of, no, we do it another time. All right, we can do this another time. Okay, now, so what is the connection? The crossing at the Jordan River led by Hosea, whose name was changed to Joshua or Yahusha, Numbers 13 and 6. If we can get Yahuah.
Number 13 and 6?
13, 16, please.
13 and 16. These are the names of the men which Mashiyach sent to spy out the land, and Mashiyach called Husha, the son of Nun, Yahusha.
So he called, what was his name?
Husha.
Okay. Read on. Start it over again, because I just wanted to share with everybody where the name change happened.
Okay.
Okay.
These are the names of the men which Mashiyach sent to spy out the land. And Mashiyach called Husha, the son of Nun, Yahusha.
Right. We'll talk about that later. All right. Son of Nun. Anybody know who Nun was?
I don't want to hear the whole question. Was he a Levite?
Hmm?
Was he a Levite?
he was an Ephraimite. Noon, this letter right here, this is Noon. Right, the seed of life. Noon begot a son named Mashiyach, whose name was changed to Yahusha. The Kai that's on your shirt there, okay, your chain here, we had this Kai, was, he's the life and the light of the world. Noon had a son named Hoshea, who was changed to Yahusha, who was also the life and the light and the Savior of the world. So we see how the transition is going from Moses, where Moses had a veil upon his face, and we see now that veil is done away in the Mashiyach, and we're now under a better covenant now, which now brings us to Yahusha, who actually is Joshua, who brings us now into the promised land. Let's go to the book of Joshua, the 3rd chapter, verses 14 to 17, and we'll try to speed this up here a little bit. Yahusha, the book of Joshua, the 3rd chapter, verse 14, 17. 3rd chapter, verse 14. And it came to pass, when the people removed their tents to pass over Jordan, and the priests bearing the Ark of the Covenant before the people. And as they bare the ark, they were come unto Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bare the ark were dipped in the brim of the water. For Jordan overflowed all his banks at the time of harvest. Verse 16. Then the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon a heap very far from the city Adam, which is beside Zartan. Those that came down towards the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, fell and were cut off, and the people passed over right against Jericho. And the priests that bare the ark of the covenant of Yahuah stood firm on dry ground in the midst of Jordan, and all the Israelites passed over on dry land until all the people were passed over the Jordan. Now, the word that we want to look at first is in verse 14 is the word over. Over. Okay, and it's the Strong's number 5674. Anybody have the definition for that? Because I just want to take my time with this here. Okay. Okay, we're, keep it running. All right, so Mr. Carr, we're going to shut it down, but we're not finished.